Hey guys, welcome back to another exciting video. Today we are doing another Stormworks 2 feature list kind of thing where we make up features that we would like to see in Stormworks 2. And of course I will have one of my own at the end of this, but we're going to go through some of the comments that were left and talk about what they were requesting. You guys, that is. You guys requesting it. So let's start off. So first off, I divided these into sections, and if you think it's in the wrong section, let me know. So starting off, we're going to go with AI, and so our first comment that we have about AI was by RNTZH690, and it is A gunners and crew, etc. So I kind of just paraphrased a lot of these, so I didn't say exactly what you said sometimes, but I got the idea. So the AI gunners and crew, etc. are something that we talked about it on a, do you want this? What was the name of the video? I don't know, but it's up in the corner right now on the top right side, and you can check out that video where we talked about having NPC crew members that have specific jobs, AI gunners, coal, what do you call those? Coal shovelers, and captains and all that stuff. So that is something we would like to see in Stormworks 2, is AI, NPC crew, gunners, etc. So a good comment. Next AI feature request we have is by Filosi, Mr. Kiwafella, Michael Broughton, and it is AI in the world, NPC mission mechanics, AI with intent, AI interaction options. So the comments were similar, so I kind of booked them together. But yeah, so we're looking for AI in the world that are kind of traveling around. Maybe they give out missions, maybe they have something they're trying to do, like maybe an AI is actually, you know, trying to compete with your coal mining business and buying up coal mines before you do. You know, something like that. And, you know, interactions with them. So another good suggestion to make the world feel a little bit live and less of an apocalypse with AIs that do not speak, do not talk, do not do anything. And next up we have DNA Studios, Atomic Underground, and Zach's YouTube Gaming with another AI suggestion, which is AI audio dispatch and ambient conversational audio, more detailed mission events, and status of vehicle. Not too sure about those last ones, but the AI dispatch is amazing idea. That's an amazing idea. With all of the great AI voices that are out in the world now, the ability to have, you know, dynamic dialogue and AI, you know, interacting with giving you a job, a mission. So maybe you're on the radio channel. I mean, we have radios in the game, we just don't really use them. But imagine being on your boat and you switch to the rescue channel or whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe there's an air channel, a sea channel, whatever. And so that would give you the type of mission, right? So then you would switch to the, you know, the rescue sea channel, and you would hear an AI say that there is a boat in distress at this location, GPS coordinates. So it wouldn't even be on the map. It would just be, you would listen to the radio, you'd write it down. Maybe there's a little notepad in the game where you can like type a little notepad in there, and you're off and trying to rescue this person. And then of course, once you rescue the person, you could go ahead and communicate with the dispatch in some way. Maybe it's just a click and point kind of thing. You know, person rescued, survived, whatever it is. But you could hear this, you know, a radio, and calls would come in, and you would hear like maybe some ambient chatter of, you know, yeah, I'm headed out, you know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, whatever. That don't have anything to do with just, you know, any events, just something to give you life in the world of Stormworks. So a very cool idea, love it. Yeah, AI dispatch, nice. Next up, we're moving into audio, and this is by James Plays JP, and Der Psychopath is custom audio. And this is something that I think we talked about, you know, on past episodes of the workbench and everything else. Custom audio, either in like audio files or in the ability to take existing audio in the game and tweak them, you know, like for engines. Captain talked about this, you know, the ability to go into a engine and tweak the audio settings to make it sound beefier, slower, faster, that kind of thing, or just to select from different audio files for engines. And of course, custom audio. So another good thing, love it. Yeah, we need that. All right, we're moving into components now. Munchie Ollie. And this is more modular gun system, like from the depths. So I don't know what that is. You guys are going to have to explain it to me. I tried the depths. I hate the depths. And I will never go back to the depths unless he like remakes a game, you know, where it actually, you can build stuff. Because it's bad. It's really, really bad. Sorry if you guys love it. I hate it. But please explain what the modular gun system from the depths is. And, or maybe even a video, if you can link me to a video that I can watch so I can understand what you're asking for, because I don't. All right, there you go. Mr. Kiwi Fella, another component is the ability to create open boats by way of invisible, clear, or block covers, perhaps. So the idea here, if you're not familiar with this in Stormworks, you can't really build an open boat. You have to have things enclosed. So perhaps some kind of component block where you can cover a section that's clear, but yet you can walk through it, but it'll block out the water, would be something that would be very cool. So think of it like a window that doesn't show up when you spawn the build, but encloses the area so that you can have no water in there, unless of course the side of the boat's got damaged or something like that. So cool idea. I like that. That would be cool. Next up on the component section is Mark's suggesting radar sonar reworks, expanding detection and filtering abilities and detection modes. So basically taking the radars and the sonars and giving them more features so that you can interact with it to tell it to, I don't know, filter out boxes, for example, or filter out smaller things, bigger things, larger things, air targets, non-air targets, without, I guess without doing a bunch of code. It would all, be built in to give you different options for filtering and stuff. So something that would, have to be really thought about. I don't know enough about the sonars and the radars to know what would be needed to make them better. But I'm sure like Sebastian and those other guys have great ideas for what's needed. Would love to hear from them. So there you go. Next up, component is from King of the Battleships. Engine rework power level through editor. So I think what he's suggesting is that instead of like hard coding kind of like what the engine's, attributes are, you would be able to have blocks that you could tweak, I guess, and change power levels, and I don't know. I'm not positive. So that one have to be explained more. But I think that's the idea, is to be able to actually edit the power attributes, maybe, how much fuel it takes in and all that stuff. I don't know. Not my thing, but yeah, would love to hear more about that. Next up on the components is James Plays JP, half blocks. So this is like kind of the thing that fits in to, the next one, which is Philosophy, which is additional wedges. So half blocks and wedges kind of fit together. And of course, we are missing the 1x3s forever, and it takes like no time to do it. Don't know why it's taking over 4 years to add another set of wedges that seem to be missing between the 2s and the 4s. I don't know, but it's missing. So there you go. All right, next up, we've got some Der Psychopath component, static ropes. We all know about this. Static ropes, big thing that I've been asking for. We don't want to have to calculate ropes on a ship with rigging. We don't need it. We don't need it in Stormworks especially. So just give us a line drawing static rope that does not move, that just sits there and draws a line in the game when you spawn. Der Psychopath also has rope tension settings, something we talked about, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago. So yeah, still missing. Hopefully Stormworks 2 has rope tension settings. Der Psychopath is looking for manual components, cranks, and valves. So more manually operated valves and stuff like that. So you can turn them left, turn them right. And maybe even a fluid valve where you can operate it instead of using a button that we have like in the game now. Der Psychopath also has another component, new custom doors, lighter, and able to be manually operated. So that is a true story that we have in Stormworks. We have custom doors, but they have to be powered in order to open them and close them. So some kind of button system that requires no power for custom doors. And apparently lighter. I guess they're heavy. I don't know about that, but yeah. Another Der Psychopath component is prop and propeller editing directly in the editor. This is something that we've talked about 100 times, which is let us resize our props. Every prop, any prop. Let us resize, how big the hub is, how small the hub is, how thick the props are, how long the props are, how many props are. We can do that. But, give us block options on the blocks themselves. That way you cut down on your number of blocks. So instead of adding blocks, make the blocks have multiple functions in the editor so you can change things. So you click on a block, you set the size, you set the type, you set this, you set that, and it's all in the editor, and it's only one prop block, Make it easy. You don't have to swap between a lot of blocks. swap between one block with properties. There you go. Thank you very much. Stormworks 2, wait and see what happens. Next we have Blue Aerospace with a component called Specialized Equipment, and he just wants more specialized equipment, I guess, depending on the job. Maybe you have tools for trains, you have tools for planes, you have tools for trucks, etc., etc., How cool would it be to have like a jack and be able to jack your car up and then pull the wheel off because it had a flat tire and put a new tire on it? That would be cool, right? I don't know, just me. Next up, Big Mungus, a component hydraulics. So that would be in itself a giant feature set, much like Steam and all those other ones. So he wants hydraulics, something the devs would have to think about and implement, and maybe the community could help with what parts they need and want when it comes to hydraulics. Bendigo, another component, is pivots with the option to calculate. So he wanted to expand on my rant about pivots, which, I've gone through all these different versions. I said, give us a pivot with a checkbox, calculate, don't calculate. Give us a different kind of pivot that does calculate, that doesn't calculate. Give us a gun pivot that behaves in a different way. Yeah, so we've pretty much covered pivots many, many times. But thanks, Bendigo, for the pivot with an option to calculate. All right, now we're moving on to the editor kind of suggestions. And Vision 115 says in albums in the editor. So something we're missing from the editor, if you look at this right here, you can see that we just have vehicles that are in the main, main bulk of this search results. What would be nice too, if you're working on, say, a B-17, which I have like 100 of them, I would like to put those B-17s into an album, and that would be like my folder for B-17s, my folder for submarines, etc., etc. So less organized, better in Stormworks 2. Very cool idea. Love it. Let's hope it gets in there because it would be really welcome. Next up, Stormworks ideas. Okay, well, hopefully he has a good idea. So Stormworks ideas for the editor is Stormworks Import into new game. So a lot of people, I think, are a little bit worried about that the new game is going to be completely different. Might be only space, might be something we're not even thinking about. And we're going to lose all of these builds that people spend hours in. Now, it's not so much that they can't build them again, but what would be really nice is perhaps the ability to at least import the blocks that are being carried over into Stormworks 2, and that way you can at least get a starting point for whatever they're doing with new logic or new types of blocks or whatever like that. So that would be cool. But yeah, fully import into the game? Sure, why not? I can see that as being a cool feature. Plus that would like rescue a lot of the amazing builds on the current workshop. Quantum Bullet says he wants cube wedge sizing editing, and that is a reference to Starship Evo, which has what he calls Neovoxels. That's what he calls them. It's basically the voxel is now stretchable. So instead of one block clicking, click, 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 click next to each other, you can now expand that one block to make a full wall, and it only counts as one block and not 50 voxel blocks. So the idea here is let us stretch our blocks, let us stretch our wedges. It's not only going to make the better vehicles, it's also going to optimize the game because it's going to be less voxels on the screen. It's going to be like one wall, and maybe you build a giant structure out of these stretch voxels, and now you have a giant ship with, I don't know what the number is. Let's say 100 blocks versus, 2,000 blocks. Also, the only concern is, much like I think Starship Evo has, is when you do damage, he limits the size of the block, because if that block disappears because damage, you have like a giant wall. So there's that trade-off with damage, because you would damage that block and it would vanish. So there you go. Good stuff. All right, Joel Gardner and Daniel K. Sia, larger creation native support. Now, this is something that we talked about before in the Workbench podcast with everybody. And what we came to the conclusion, actually just last week, is give us a button that says experimental features. Okay? And what that does is it will allow giant builds natively inside of a location. And it's giving you a warning when you hit that experimental build button or click checkbox that, this is going to screw your game up if you can't handle it. If your game, your computer's not down for this, you're likely going to have problems. You're going to have crashes. you're going to have huge slowdowns. Things are not going to probably work the way you want. But for us that want to build giant, creations and want to be able to do it without having to jerk around with XML and all that crap, give us an experimental button and take off the limits. Take off the block size limits. Why can't I build a Titanic without making it into 3 sections? Why can't I just, that there's like I think it's 512, 412 block limit in even when you do hack the XML. So give me a full size, no limit, build whatever you want, crash the game if you want, experimental mode. That's what we want. Make that happen in Stormworks 2 or whatever game it turns out to be called. All right, next up we have Eyes See, and the editor is a multiplayer building. This is something that's been talked about with Deltars. Talked about it's not going to ever come to Stormworks, the current one, but is there a possibility of having multiplayer building in Stormworks 2? Who knows, but it's something that people want, so we'll put that on the feature list. James Play JP, modding. Okay, this is just a modding section here, and custom blocks. So basically, at the very minimum, allow us to create custom blocks that are able to be downloaded from the workshop, and the game accepts them, uses them natively. When you download a vehicle with custom blocks, it just uses it from the workshop, or it's added as a requirement for that build, whatever it is. But it's all working on the workshop. Let modding custom blocks work on the workshop for Stormworks 2. Good suggestion. Love it. And there are plenty of custom blocks that would be ready to go in short order if they were available as a feature in Stormworks 2. So there you go. Tomcat and Spleenathon. Player character. New character design and same character camera level. So I didn't know this, but I guess the female character and the male character are different heights or something with the camera when they sit in a chair. So that's something. New character design. Yeah, they could be reworked a bit. I mean, especially the girl. Like her face, she looks like she ate a lemon, and she's just like kind of puckering up because the lemon was so bad. So yeah, we could give a few more polygons to our low polygon characters. That might be a good thing. Lone Wolf and Bendigo, player character. Survival aspects, stamina, penalties, etc. And for that, I would say that would be a cool idea, just to give you something to do in the world. Maybe add more blocks that have to do with cooking and all that stuff on our ships and our vehicles, and give you a reason to explore the world. Maybe you have to go find, I don't know, bananas, whatever the case may be. And of course, it is a survival kind of game in some aspects. And if we're playing like scenarios, you would like some survival aspects. Just let us set. Like, make sure that whatever you do, you add settings into the game where you can turn off things, turn on things, set how much hunger and thirst you might have as a slider. Please do not say add it as an add-on. I hate that. The add-ons suck in Stormworks, and I'm guessing the add-ons are going to be limited in Stormworks 2, so don't say add it with an add-on. This would be something that would be in the game as a feature. Okay, moving on. Next up, we have Raj Kaz. This is a world feature, and of course, it's fishing. So fishing, and we know all the things that we would like in that, especially JSI, who has a lot of experience with fishing and features they'd like to see. So that would have to be really, worked out about what fishing entails. Private fishing versus commercial fishing, and the features required for nets and all that stuff that I don't know about. So very cool idea. Hope to see it in Stormworks 2. Next up, Preston Kitely. I don't know what your name is. Kitely. I'm going to go with Kitely. This is a world feature. Simulated Dragon Lift. That would be something that is going to be based on what they're doing with the physics engine. So we can ask for that, but will it be a feature? It depends on, what kind of game they're building, and if it's possible if they're upgrading to a different physics engine or a different version or adding something to it. So we don't know, but we can ask for it. Next up, Joel Gardner, The Green Steve, Pooh Gamer. They want space. So whether it's Stormworks 2 or it's Stormworks Space or Spaceworks or whatever the case may be, Space is something that's come up both with Deltars himself and Q&As and with the, the community. So space would be a nice feature, transitioning from the planet, the flat planet, to a space kind of level would be cool. All right, moving on. Greg's Pro Gaming is asking for a world feature, which is destruction features. So that's kind of vague. Destruction features. We have destruction features in Stormworks, and I don't think you're going to get much better than that. It's really difficult to do it when you're doing like block damage and whatever, voxel damage. So the best they could do, I think, is maybe, add a feature where if a vehicle takes enough damage, maybe it's swapped out for like voxels that explode everywhere and disappear, just for visual effects. But that's about as, I think, far as it's going to go from where it is now. Only my guess, but we'll have to see in Stormworks 2 or Spaceworks or whatever the game may be. Next up, we have another feature by Flosi, and this is Story Campaign. So a big part of my gripe when I was playing the career, or I still am playing the career, is there's no story. It doesn't have to be a giant story, but just, world building story. Like, why are we here? What are we doing? Where is this place? Where are we going? Is there a point to anything we're doing here? So if they're going to be doing some kind of campaign with the next game, or if they're just going to leave it open as a multiplayer, single-player sandbox, a story would be nice. Probably not required, but it would be nice to have the ability to perhaps tell our own stories, which means bringing back a mission editor and keep the add-on editor separate from that. But I don't see that happening. But whatever. Nice idea. So we'll see what happens. Captain Carkrells and Blake, map editor based around the tile placement and bionome settings. So this is a good idea. We could do this, I think, in Stormworks, right? The ability to actually, open up like a map designer for Stormworks, currently even. I'm just going to say currently, because this would be a really cool feature for the current game, because I like to run sub-hunts, and the ability to set like 2 giant locations. So let's say I have the arid island and I want it down here, and I have the Sawyer Isles and I want it up here, and these are 2 warring nations, and maybe there's a few islands that I want to put down on the right side here, and make those the whatever, Fiji Islands or where they were fighting. But my brain is gone. But I'm talking about the Pacific War. Solomons. Okay, there you go. And so we could do that, right? We could build a map and structure it where we want items placed, and perhaps we could even turn off the other sections, so we just have like all water and maybe just a few islands, because we're simulating that we're out in the Solomon Islands and there's just these little islands over here and we're far away from civilization. That would be a cool map builder, and really welcome in Stormworks 1, Stormworks 2, Stormworks 3, and whatever they do, unless they change around how maps work and make it into like one of those things where you're using a grid that you raise and lower in the world to make the map and the mountains and all that stuff. But right now, Stormworks uses physical 3D landmasses in the game in grids. So, depending what they do with the next game, this might be a great feature, or it might be a feature that is not needed because there'll be a completely different type of mapping system and map editor. So, very cool. Thanks, Captain. Thanks, Blake. And let's move on to Ben Miller. Ben Miller has air pressure, oxygen, and CO2 game mechanics. So depending on what kind of game we have next up, and if they add space, this is probably going to be a feature, I'm guessing. Deltars does like to simulate stuff. He may not do it right all the time, but he tries. So very cool. Beanstalk says more land masses. So more land masses, I don't know. Again, we have to kind of wait to see what kind of map editor we have, what kind of map structure we have. Is it going to be the Stormworks 3D structured tile-based game? Is it going to be a polygon, raise it, lower it grid on the ground where you can make mountains, land masses, whatever, and put color, tile texture on it, or whatever, color texture, whatever, you know what I mean. Stormworks is pretty low on the texture, but colored land for mountains and grass and stuff like that, and snow. So we shall see, but a good suggestion anyways. And our last one for today is the Atomic Underground, suggesting missions based on current gameplay abilities. Example, player owns a ship, but no sub, no underwater missions. So I don't know how that would work, how the game would know like what you owned, unless there was like a specifically, a block that you say, I am building a ship, and then you place the ship block on there, and then the game would know, oh, he has a ship, so I'm only going to give ship missions, or, underwater missions if it's a sub or a plane or a helicopter, or whatever case may be. So, interesting suggestion. Don't know how that would work, but yeah, very cool. All right, so we got to the comments. Those were really good. Let me know in the comments below if you have more suggestions or would like to expand on any of those that I talked about. But what I want to show you now is my suggestion for Stormworks 2 or whatever the game may be, which is this fake camera here. So in the editor, I want to be able to place cameras like that one right there, and say place a camera right there. And let's just pretend these are kind of pointing at me. Okay, let's just pretend I'm going to stand by this wall. And what I would like the ability to do is to have kind of like a spectator mode where we could place cameras around. Let's say we have a racetrack, and I know there's some racers out there. And let's say we have a racetrack, and so what we do is we go into like a spectator camera mode. Maybe it's like a block that we click onto. And what it would do is when we click on that block, we would jump to the camera. So I just jumped to the first camera, and you can see me standing there, and then I'm going to jump to the second camera. And now you're getting a different view. And I can swap between these two cameras, left, right, left, right, left, right. And what we can do is actually create a camera system on the island for doing spectator races. So if I wanted to record a race with 4 drivers, I'm not in the race, I would put these cameras around, and I would be able to swap between each one, maybe an overhead cam, maybe another camera that's close to the ground, and the cars would roll by, and I would be recording all this, and we get some really good videos. Now, a big part of Stormworks is like sharing our experiences. So my second feature, besides cameras, because I know someone's going to say this is only specifically for content creators, they only want to do this. Well, there's another thing that would be really cool, is the ability to do a track recording. So what it would do is, much like Space Engineers, I think, has it. I'll have to look that up, make sure I'm telling the truth. And IL-2 Stormovik, which was a World War II game, is that it records your session. You can also, I think you can turn it off and turn it on, but you would record your whole session. So if you're, playing Stormworks and you're in first person the whole time, you record that track. And then later on, after you're done playing, you would go back and you could load the track and play it back and move a camera around and play it back, stop it, rewind forward, go fast forward, go back forward, whatever. And you would be able to record your whole session and see it from different angles. And of course, that's going to be great for content creators. Of course, it's going to be great for content creators. That's why I'm asking for it. But it would also allow everybody to see their experience in the world and share it with others, which is a big part of this game. Is you want to share your experience. When you do something cool, when you face a kraken, when you blow up a plane on accident, when you manage to use your plane to crash into something, a track recorder would let you capture it, and you'd never miss a moment or an angle. So those are my 2 features. Basically virtual cameras that you could jump around and place in the world, and of course a track recorder and a track editor that you could play back and record. It would be even cool if you could like export the video. I think IL-2 did that, maybe? I don't remember. But yeah. So anyways, that is it for today. Go ahead and leave comments below for Stormworks 2 features, and I will see you next time. And don't forget to watch these 2 videos above if you have any questions on the NPCs. And what was the other one? I forgot. Whatever it is. Go watch that one too. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.